G'day guys, thanks for clicking onto this video. If you're new to my channel, I primarily do fishing and adventure on this channel. I post fishing adventures, mainly fishing off the boat. I do a lot of fishing tips and hints as well. And of late, I've been doing some videos on gear as well, as the name suggests. On the latest video, I pulled the trigger on Model Y Tesla, so that I can actually tow my boat and go about doing my fishing adventures with the car. Although this episode is not really about fishing, it kind of has a tie to it because I need to save money so that I can spend that money back onto fishing, right? So pay for the fuel on the boat and fishing gear, this and that. So I wanted to save some money and also not having to rely on the grid to buy the electricity to actually power my home, as well as charge my soon to be delivered Model Y, the EV. I am sure everyone has been keeping an eye out on the energy prices that are increasing or has increased already as of July the 1st if you're in Australia. And if you're not, I'm sure you'll also be interested in how to save money on the electricity bill, because that is a money that you could use wisely elsewhere. So in Australia, we just had a price increase of around 19.5% to close to 24%, so depending on where you are and who you're with. So I got a rude email from my utility provider for electricity saying that, hey John, your electricity will increase by 25%. I felt the need to do something about that because at the moment our household does not have gas, so this meant total reliance on electricity alone. So what I basically wanted to do to beat the price rise, I wanted to get more solar panels on my roof. So I wanted to add at least additional 10 kilowatt system to top up my existing 3 kilowatts that I had on my roof. And together with that, the Tesla Powerwall. So that means rather than selling the huge amount of excess solar power that I'll be generating by topping up my roof with full of solar panels, I will be storing them onto the battery so I can use it throughout the night, especially during the peak periods where solar will not be generating any power at all, and it'll be utilizing power that I stored here, and I will be using the power from this to run my house. Does it have enough capacity to do that? I don't think so. I probably need another battery, but for smaller household, I think one battery will be enough. These things used to cost a lot. Now it's substantially lower than what it used to cost a few years ago, so it is slightly more affordable, and depending on your usage, this may pay off in a couple of years. In my case, I think it will, because the excess solar that I'll be generating, not only I'll be storing here, but I will also be charging my car, so that negates the cost of the fuel as well. So that is the grand plan. So the state of play is this. I have 3 kilowatt solar panels that were installed perhaps more than 10 years ago. So I will be utilizing more of this roof space to install additional 9.8, close to 10. So that'll take me to close to 13 kilowatts of solar panel. So lucky that the sun has come up. It's no longer raining. The installer for solar has turned up and doing some work right now. So some of the empty roof space is getting fitted out with solar panel. Tesla Powerwall 2. It's here, going to get installed. So this is the install. That's the inverter for the new solar, and this is the pre-existing inverter for the 3 kilowatt system that I had, and this is running the 10 kilowatt additional system that I have put in. And this is the gateway for Tesla Powerwall, the battery, and this is the actual battery itself, the Powerwall 2. So I now have the roof pretty much covered with solar, and also the Tesla battery working quite well. This was my AGL electricity bill for the months of May to June, so full month. So this is probably a typical month for me. So as you can see, all the power being used throughout my household with all the appliances and cooking and heating and whatnot. And also some of the solar that I was generating in excess of during the day that I was using that were being sold back into the grid, which is a very small amount. I think the AGL buys them back at 5 cents per kilowatt. As opposed to when I do buy from them, it's going to be like 60 cents. $372. So this is without the admin fee or subscription fee or anything like that. So my total bill, actual bill for that month would have been around $400. So the feed-in tariff that I was getting paid in credit was only 78 cents. So if I now move across to after the solar and also the Tesla battery install, this is what it looks like. So as you can see, big difference here. So this was pre-solar install as well as the Tesla Powerwall. And these 3 days are really the first 3 days of the solar Powerwall. And this is really the full day where I took the full advantage of the solar as well as the Powerwall. And I'll explain why. So on this day, the solar was installed. It was just getting activated, and I probably managed to only run half day of that solar. And the Tesla battery wasn't active. Okay, so on this day, compared to this day, for example, actually let's compare this day because that looks like a day that it wasn't sunny at all. So on this day, I used up $14.14, and I got reimbursed or put in credit because of the excess solar was sold back to the grid. So that only paid me 2 cents because remember, it's only 5 cents per kilowatt. Okay. So on this day, electricity alone, it cost me $14. Okay, that was a typical day. And in this day, it cost me around $10 and so on. On this day, pretty much looks like it was a rainy day and not much sun or cloudy or whatever. So on this day, it cost me nearly $17 per day. So on this day, the first partial running of the solar, but no Tesla Powerwall, the solar generated was being used during the day. And also, because there was so much excess solar, I was selling a lot more power back into the grid. Okay, so compared to this day, for example, I was getting paid 2 cents. On this day, I was actually getting $1.08 in credit. So on this day, it only really cost me like $11.77. So that is already a contrast to this day, which was costing me $14. So $3 or thereabouts difference. So that is also a saving in itself. But where the Tesla battery will shine is this. So on this day, because the Tesla battery was switched on, but it wasn't necessarily fully charged. So it was actually getting charged during the night when my power was off peak. Right? You can set this up so that you can charge when it's off peak, i.e. cheaper rate, and use that stored energy when it's peak, where it charges 50 cents, 60 cents. So on this day, because of that, I was pulling in $8 worth of power from the grid. The solar is also producing a lot of power, so I was actually selling the excess power at $1.70. So on this day, it only cost me $6.30. Okay, so $6.30 compared to these days where I was getting charged like 17 bucks, right? So power bill slashed by half, more than half, right? But this day, the latest day, this is where everything worked in sync. The Tesla battery is fully installed. I've configured it so that during the day when excess power is being produced, the priority is this. It feeds the house, and then it charges the battery, and then if they have access, it will sell back to the grid. That's why the selling back to the grid is substantially lower on this day than here. But I'm not losing out much because remember, I'm only getting paid like 5 cents per kilowatt, right? So on this day, I'm in credit of $1.70. On this day, I'm in credit of $1.17. right? Not a huge difference, but in terms of power, I'm saving a lot more, because that power, rather than being sold at cheaper price, I'm actually storing that and using it throughout the night. So if you look at here, the power that I pulled in from the grid only cost me $5.02. And then, because I sold $1.17 worth of power, on this day now, I'm paying less than $4, right? Whereas on these days, I was paying $14, $17 and whatnot. So my daily bill for electricity, by having the solar and Tesla Powerwall configured properly to charge during the day when there's excess power being generated through my solar, and then using that throughout the night, especially during the peak times, I'm only paying very little amount for electricity. And it will be even more of a saving now, because remember, I'm still selling excess 23.47 kilowatts of power. That was yesterday. And instead of selling it back to the grid at this ridiculously low price, I could be charging my EV, not having to pay to charge my EV. And even better still, compared to an ICE vehicle where I had to spend money to put in the fuel, if you consider that, the saving is gigantic. I hope that helped. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, please do, if this is kind of content that you're interested in. So thanks for sticking around this long to hear my journey of reducing my electricity bill.